All right, welcome to the stream today. Today is for a walkthrough on Tryhackme's HackPark. This room has a lot of different features in it. It's Windows, allows us to kind of look at brute forcing a web application and using Hydra and Burp, and then doing some remote code execution. Um, this room was updated and added it like a non-metasploit feature to it. I'll leave that probably up to the viewer to do, um, but we'll go through this box. This is one I've already gone through. This is just a re-recording of HackPark. So let's start looking at the box. So again, the thing with Tryhackme is that they have they're more beginner friendly. They're more set out to kind of help you out and start learning these techniques and tools and how to use them. And then this one here that actually already has a video, which is great. But yeah, sometimes I'd like to see different perspectives on machines and things like that. I've already just started deploying this box, and so this box is live, and we can go ahead and start looking at it. So with any box that we're going to start, we'll start with the scanning. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do our nmap. Let's first put our information into our targets. So we'll create a targets file. Grab the IP address, and they've now added a little copy there. Copy that in there. And now we can do nmap dash little I big L. That's going to be an input list. Totally misspelled target. All right, we're going to do nmap il targets. We'll go ahead and do a dash pn. We're going to do dash t5. That's the speed. Pn is no ping. And then we're going to output all formats. We'll call it HackPark. And we'll do very verbose. And we'll get that kicked off. So we want to see what ports are open on this box, what we can look at and leverage and see, get more information about this box. So it came back pretty quickly with just 2 ports, 80 and 3389. So we'll go ahead and get the more in-depth scanning going on this one. So we'll do a dash script. We'll change HackPark to HackPark detailed. So we're going to do a script scan. We'll do default version, vuln, and again we'll add the script timeout. This is to prevent scripts from hanging up. We'll give that a 2-minute timeout. We do have port 80, so we'll go ahead and look at that web page and see if we get anything from there while that's scanning. All right, so a page comes up. Looks like a blog type situation here. We can see that it was designed by Blog Engine. It gives us a link to a different external site. So this is good information to kind of know when we get later on. We can look at exploits and things like that. We see that there's an archive, a contact. These look like live links. So the archive just goes somewhere else. Contact. And we did have a login page. that's something to look at. All right, our script scan's still going. So what we'll also go ahead and do is we'll get GoBuster going. So we'll split this window and we'll get GoBuster. And so what we're looking for is alternative directories, things that may have been left on the server here to see if they left some kind of code or left files to kind of help leverage us into a different area. So GoBuster, it's going to do a dir scan, and then it's -u for the URL. Then you have to provide it a word list. This word list is what it's using for directories and to kind of search. Directory list, medium. 2.3 medium. And then we'll want to save that output. Let's do -10. So we're finding lots of directories here. So we got our scanning, we got GoBuster going. We could play with this page here too and see if we get any immediate SQL injection or anything like that. So we'll just put like an admin. I put a single tick after each admin. We see that the login failed. It's providing some kind of error handling or something there. To better understand what's going on under the hood, what we'll need to do is get a proxy going, and we'll end up using burp for a proxy. So I'll open up another tab here. I'll go ahead and get burp going. And it's asking for an update, but that's fine. We don't need an update. I'm going to go ahead and just use a temporary project. And you can use the free version of burp. This is the paid version. So we'll click on the proxy tab. With burp, it automatically starts the proxy in intercept mode. And that's fine on some cases, but we'll want to go ahead and turn that off. For our options, we want to make sure that the proxy is started running. We can see that it's on port 8080 in my case. You could add different proxies to this in case, like if you're doing user-to-user testing or anything like that. Having different ports, then you can kind of help facilitate and figure out what users are submitting what data when you're doing that user-to-user testing. Something good to know for when you're trying to do bug bounties and things. All right, so we want to send this data to burp, and then the browser add-on that I have is called Foxy Proxy, and this allows you to quickly edit and add additional proxies to your browser without having to go through the settings and things like that. And so in this case, I have burp set up, and all you do is click Options, you add the proxy, and just set the settings there. And then now that allows you to quickly change between proxies. And in some cases you'll want that for like if you're doing a SOX proxy, like once you can get onto a machine and need to push your traffic through that machine and stuff like that. So we'll do burp. We'll just do a regular admin, and that should go to burp, and we'll look at that. So here's the request. If you've never seen HTML requests before, What this is a post request. So there's post and get. Those are the most common URLs, methods, HTTP methods. And for post, the majority of the data is inside the body. For get, all the information is in the URL bar. And the reason you want the information in the body is that when it's going through proxies and stuff like that, if it's a secure proxy, then this data shouldn't be viewed. In this case with Burp, because it's more intercepting the traffic, not just forwarding it on. It's not a full TLS, connection all the way through. We're seeing this information. So we can see for the trying to log in as the admin, it's posting to account login ASPX, and then sending us back to the admin directory. We see a view state. This is a common cookie for ASP type applications, and then an event validation. So basically, it's kind of validating what view that we're looking at. And then we see the actual data here, admin, and then there's the password admin. And so you could do, we could do two different things. We could send this to Intruder. On the free version, Intruder's kind of slowed down. So you wouldn't be able to do this as quickly. I just click cleared here, and then the parameters that we only care about are these two parameters right here, admin and admin. And then we could set up payloads and have it attack that. You could also send this to repeater, and you could play with those two payloads. You can also go to the parameters tab, and this kind of formats it a little bit easier to manipulate. So like if we did here admin and admin, then we can send that request and check the response. And so we can see that we got a 200. Still send us to an account login. If this was good, it would send us to like a 302, things like that. So let's see what else we came back with on the scans that we did earlier. So we're still looking at directories. We are finished with the Nmap scan. So we'll look at this and see if we detect anything out of there. So it did pick up port 80, which we already knew about. We see that it did some spidering. Looking at other web pages, it did find things like an archive, a posts, welcome to HackPark, category, blog engine net. What else do we see here? We see that there's supported methods, count, search, arrow 404, archive. So we could look at some of these pages, see if that gives us anything. And then just some ciphers on the port 3389, which is usually remote desktop. So let's see if we can find this account.all and see if that comes up to be anything. And this is the methodology. Again, I'm trying to show you the methodology of things that you should be following when you're looking at this stuff, and not just diving straight into what the answers are. So we get an error page. We see there's a search. So let's look at search. Okay, so that just brings us back to the blog and the search page, and we could try XSS testing. Again, an XSS test is going to get you script execution, which is not really going to help you out. You'd want this to get, like a SQL injection or things like that to get access to the database. And we can see that it seems to be putting that data in there. We can also check burp and see we can see that the information is getting through here. We could so when it's the application's doing what's called URL encoding, so you see that these are percent values. We can try to change those back and see if that works. Sometimes if the application interprets the raw equivalent of that, that's when you'll get the information, but the browser naturally wants to convert those, and the reasoning for that is because these are characters that are known to have special meanings to them. So that can end up having problems depending on the application. But we can see here the result did still get converted, and that's what we're looking for, is this application handling this correctly. And this is what you need to be doing when you're doing web application testing, is anytime that you see an input field like this, and that you saw that there's a results on the web page, which is what we're seeing here. Like when I was putting this in, it changed this here. And so looking at the proxy and things like that, this is where you're playing with this data and then seeing what the outcome is. So that didn't get us anywhere. Let's see if there's anything else. We got the search ASP and the error 404 and then an archive. So let's see if what's in the archive. So it just looks like it's a post. All right. And it's just one post. We have additional comments here. Again, this would be more like, again, it's going to post this data up here. So this if there was cross-site scripting, it'd be stored to cross-site scripting. Not really going to get us forward unless it's something that gets looked at by administrator and captures cookies and sends it back to us. So we're kind of running out of options of things, and then that's depending on your scope when you determine if things like brute force is in scope and things like that. And the thing that we would brute force was that admin page, that login page that we saw. So we want to go back to looking at that and then start generating a request. So we'll do, we already have this up here. We have this in Burp. This is the first tab here. So to do brute forcing, you could write a script that would replace the values, things like that, or you could use a tool called Hydra. Hydra will take a list and then replace the values that you put in here. And it does it pretty quickly. All right. So let's open up a new terminal and we'll go ahead and get Hydra going. So this is going to be, if you never used Hydra, you can do a -H. It has a lot of features, a lot of options. This is pretty not inclusive, but the way Hydra works is that it will brute force all these different protocols here. So you can see that it does like asterisk, Cisco enable, Firebird, HTTP, S, head, get, post, proxies, so on and so forth. Then you can do Postgres. So we're going to use Hydra. We're going to, again, specify the login name as admin. And then for the password, we're going to specify a file. In this case, we'll end up using RockU as the file list. So we'll do a user, share, word list, then RockU. And then we need to do the IP address of the server. And then we're doing a post form, and that's, we knew that from looking at burp here. This is a post. And so that's going to be HTTP post form, and then we're going to need to specify the URL. So we're just going to put the ASPX there. And because we're using slashes and things like that, we want to put everything into quotations. That way the tool interprets it, not everything else, like the command line or bash or prompt. And then we need to copy in everything here. What I'm gonna go ahead and do though, is since I'm just gonna copy this large blob of data, we're gonna put the marker here, and the marker is for Hydra this caret, and then PASS, and then caret again. And so what Hydra is going to do is look through this here and then say, okay, I need to replace that, the words from that text file into this position on the request, basically. All right, so we post that in there, and then the last thing that we need to do is actually give it the false condition. How does it know that things went wrong? And so that's going to be logged in failed. All right, so if everything is good, it should go, but we messed up something. Invalid target definition. All right, let's see if I messed up something. So we should have -l admin -big P for password. There's the list, there's the IP address. Oh, I put the HTTP. Should just be straight address. Okay, there we go. So it's going to try multiple times different usernames and passwords, and then eventually get you a list of ones that don't meet this condition, this login failed condition. All right, so let's see which one of these works. We'll go to the page, and then we're going to do admin, and then let's get this lined up so we can do both. So we'll set this over here. We'll set our window down here, and we'll start at the top. So we're trying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you'll notice that it still said login failed, and what Hydra basically end up doing sometimes is that it tries all these so fast that it doesn't almost wait for the correct response sometimes, and that's where we end up having a problem. Let me see if I can get it to do better. So let's put in, we only did the password. Let's do the username too. So the username right here where it says admin, let's just replace that with the user. And we're still getting quite a bit of passwords here. So we'll try these. If not, then we'll push it through burp. This is kind of the problem with brute forcing sometimes, and the tools, because the tools again are kind of limited on certain things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going straight down this list, trying each one of these to see if I get a valid response. We're seeing that these are not working as intended. ABC, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8. Nicole. Danielle. Monkey. Lovely. And Jessica. And so none of these ended up working. So the next thing then, a better way to do this, in my opinion, would be let's just do this in Burp. So I'll add that here. Can do payloads. We can load in. And we're going to do user share. We want word list. And rock you. So it's going to take a minute to load that up. Okay, burp loaded up, and now what we do is we're having it go through the list. What we're looking for is a 302 status, and so we can even just filter out successes, request errors, and server errors. And what we're looking for in here is once it gets that 302 status. So it's trying easily 14 million passwords. And we got one. So 1QAZ2WSX. And so if you just look at their keyboard, that's keyboard walking. So that's 1 down and then 2 down. So we can go ahead and stop this now. So we'll get the password out of here. And we're going to put that in here now. All right, so we now have gotten into the system. So let's look at our task and see what we got. So first, deploy the machine. What was the name of the character displayed? The clown on the home page. So if you've never seen the movie It, that was Pennywise. The next task was talking about Hydra and Brute-Forcing. This is what we were doing. So again, this is giving you the background on what Hydra does, how it does it. And in this case, we were using a post request. You can see how to set up the request right. There's the password. Again, Hydra in my case didn't work. And so that's where you kind of need to know other tools and be able to rely on those other tools to do something similar. So now we're on the machine. Here's like a way to do the Hydra payload. And so now we're compromising the machine. So we'll need to identify and execute a public exploit to gain initial access on this machine. Exploit DB is a way to kind of do that. First thing I want you to figure out is the blog version. So, and this is something you normally do on every type of assessment that you do, is you want to figure out versions of software and things like that so that you know what you're working with and if there's any public exploits out there. So being logged into Blog Engine, all I did was click the About page and we can see the version number there. And so that matches up with the next question that we had to do. And then past that, what we need to do is we need to figure out an exploit for this. So let's clear out this out. And built into Kali is exploit DB. So what we want to do is it's called searchsploit. And if you never use searchsploit, always look at the help. But searchsploit is exploit DB just in a command line type version. And so you can specify, like if you need a specific case, a term, if something needs to max exactly, and then you can copy over the exploit and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for Blog Engine. And we see multiple versions come up, and this is where we need to kind of figure out which one this works for. So going back to the actual Blog Engine, we see that we're on version 3.3.6.0. And we see that there is a couple of 3.36s and some 3.7s. And so the biggest thing that you want to get first a majority of the time is remote code execution. That's the one where it's going to be able to give you running something on the system, and then you'll be able to use that to your advantage to further gain access to the system. So each exploit DB has a number with it, and we see this number right here. And so what we can do then is we can do searchsploit and then -m and that number, and it will copy that file from the directory where it's saved at in exploit DB on the system to your current directory. And so now we have that ability to kind of look at this. And so what I'm doing is I'm running Visual Studio Code to kind of bring this up. It does not like to run as root, so I'm just providing it a directory. All right, let's make the text a little bit bigger. All right, so when we're looking at this, any exploit or anything like that, you kind of want to look it over, understand what's going on. So we can see that the vulnerable code can be seen at this controls. We need to, so let's see if we can look at this. Oops. So we're going to copy this. We'll go back to the web page. And so we're not seeing that there. So it's unchecked theme parameter used to override the default theme rendering the blog. So it's something with theming. So we can see customs and then there's themes, okay? So those are our themes there. So we need to set a TCP client address, import within the method below for our attack host. And so we need to upload it via as a post view ASCX. Note that this file must be uploaded as that file. Once uploaded, the file will be app data files directory off. The admin page that allows the upload is this page here. So we can look at this page, and what we need to do then is go to that page and see if it's going to allow us to upload. So there's the publishing post of this. And then you can, looks like you can trigger it by going to that app theme files. So let's open up a couple directories so we can kind of see everything going on here. So we have that, and then it's saying it. So we're not seeing the app data files directory off the document root. Let's see if that's an admin then. Nope. And so this is kind of where you're starting to look at things, look at the vulnerability, trying to understand what's going on, understand all the underlying data that's involved here. And here's the actual code. So this is C# code. What it's doing is it's creating a socket, a raw socket. It's going to call back to this IP address on this port, and then get a stream, and then tie exe to that stream. Once that's attached to it, any data going in and out is basically going to get written to the standard input, and then the standard out will come back towards the stream, basically. And so this is kind of a reverse shell, in essence, in a C# version. So what we need to do is we need to change this to our IP address and a port number that we want this to be. Then we'll upload the file, and we should hopefully be able to get that shell back. So this will be our IP address. Whenever you're on any of these, lab type environments, one of the things that you can do is just look at your ton0. That's usually your VPN connection. We're going to paste that in there, and then we can keep the port the same. So we'll save this file. We also need to change the file name to this post view ASCX. So we're going to copy that. And we'll change that here. So we'll move the 4CS to that. All right, so now we have everything kind of set up. Looks like we need to go to that edit post and upload this page now. But we also need to set up a listener. So you have two options here. You can do a netcat listener, or again, if you wanted to do Metasploit to catch the shell, you could do that too. And that's perfectly fine. I like Metasploit personally because then if I need to do anything else, I can kind of background that shell and not lose it. So we'll start Metasploit. And I think the room has two paths here. yeah, privileged escalation without Metasploit. So again, this is talking about using privileges without using Meterpreter or to basically go further. It doesn't talk about catching the shell. And again, if you're studying for your OSCP, you can catch shells with Metasploit. You can do stuff in there. That's not your one time. Your one time is if you start using it, like using something in here, like a local privilege escalation or things like that. So we're going to use exploit multi-handler. And what we're going to be catching is just a Windows reverse shell. So if we do a search, we want a type of payload, and we want, let's do reverse, and we'll also do shell. And so it's going to highlight basically anything that had reverse or shell in there in the payload sections. What we want is just the Windows payload shell. So if we set payload Windows, then we got shell, and we are looking for there's reverse TCP. Okay, so once that's set, we are now we can catch the port. We do need to change the L host. So again, in Metasploit, you can do set L host ton 0. That's automatically pull that IP address, and we also need to set the L port because our L port's coming on back on something different. And then what I'm going to do is another little function called exit on session as false. With this type of shell, what happens is once we get the shell back, it will basically kill the handler, and we don't want that to happen because we might want to come back to the shell or re-execute the shell for whatever reason. So having exit on session as false means that we will have that always listening. And so now we can do an exploit-j, and that should be listening on that port. So everything seems to be set up. Now we just need to upload. So going back to this blog post, we want to find a way to upload stuff, and it looks like it's going to be that file manager there. Clicking on the file manager, and waiting. Let's try again. So we're going to click on the file manager. Oh, burp might be, let's turn burp off. Let's make sure we're still good. We can close our intruder window here too. So it looks like the web page stopped responding, and sometimes during your testing this might happen, especially when you're doing high activities like brute forcing, things like that. So again, brute forcing, anything like this in an automated fashion, you want to kind of let the client know before you're doing that, so that they can monitor it. Again, hopefully the application's not that bad. where it would get knocked over by this type of stuff. Um, in this case, it does seem like it got knocked over, so what we'll do is we'll terminate and we'll just respawn it. In the case of a real pen test, what you'd end up having to do is contacting the client and then asking them to restart the service. That's something you don't, want to do. So that's where your terms and conditions, rules of engagement need to be sorted out, and make sure that, again, as a courtesy, still let the client know, hey, I'm going to possibly brute force. Brute force should be saved to the end. It should not be one of the first things that you're doing. And some clients don't want brute forcing. All right, let's just open up a new tab and I'm also going to reboot the VPN. I'll bring this stream back up whenever the page decides to load. All right, we got a couple viewers in here. Oh well, there's a couple people. How's it going, everybody? So while we're waiting for the page to load, any questions so far? Anything? How's everyone's day going? Still early for some people. This page is not wanting to load though. Okay, we do have that. All right, I'll go back to the recording. All right, so the page has come back up. Again, we're going to use the credentials that we had from before when we were brute forcing. And that was just the common keyboard walk of going 1 down and then 2 down. So we are in the page now, and from before when we were looking at the exploit, it was talking about going to a certain page and then uploading the code to that page. So let's bring the exploit back up. If we want to do highlighting, we can select C# in here. That's going to highlight the code correctly. And then we need to go to this editor post right here. All All right, and now we are going to click on the file manager and we can upload. And you can see here in the file manager, the location that it's uploading this is the app data files. And so when we upload this page, we're going to end up uploading it in that area. Okay, upload's complete. And like it was saying before, what we need to do then is activate the code by having the themes load it. And so we can see this here. If we specify the theme, and then we're doing a little directory transversal, and we're specifying the app data files. And so if we copy this here, and then go back to our Metasploit, we see that we got a shell. All right. So now we're on the box. Now we have access to this. We see that we have an x86 shell. It pulled out the Windows versioning information and everything. So with this, we can try to upgrade our shell using Metasploit to Meterpreter. Again, that would be the time that you end up using your Meterpreter session if this is what you end up wanted to do. Other ways of doing that would be just work in the context of what you have of the shell. We're just going to kind of do more the Metasploit way and show that off. So what you need to search for when you want to upgrade your session is a post module. And so we just specify type post, and then we're doing Meterpreter. And what you'll see here is number 6 is the one that we want to do. So we can do use 6, and we have some options here. And we want to do set session to 1, and then set lhost to ton 0 again. And that looks like that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and try that. So identify PowerShell is not installed on the target. It is uploading a stager. And now we have a new session. So now we see 2 different sessions here. We have a Meterpreter and we have our regular shell. And if we do that again, there we go. So Meterpreter finally got its telemetry data back, and we can see that we are logged in as IIS app pull blog at HackPark. And so, this is a limited user. We can go into our sessions -I. We'll look at 2. If we get system info, we are on Windows 2012 R2, x64, but we do have an x86 Meterpreter. So again, this is kind of where we want to match that architecture now. So now we went from shell to Meterpreter. Now we want to match the same architecture, right? And so we can do a search again, and we're going to do a type of a post, and we want to do Arch. And so now we see arch migrate or architecture migrate. And so then we'll use 20. And for this one here, we just show options, and we need to set the session. And that's going to be session 2. And then we can run that one. So now we are an x64 interpreter. So now we're matching the architecture. This is a good standpoint. And now we need to figure out what exploits can we use to basically increase our privilege. And so this is where we have, again, multiple routes that we could do. We could do WinPs, we could look at that. We could do the local exploit suggester. So let's look for the local exploit suggester. Again, this one is another post module, and then exploit. And you see here that that's a number 6, so we'll use 6. We'll show options, and we just need to set a session. We'll set session 2 and run. So that's going to run that information. And for a little bit bonus, I'll upload WinPs, and we can go over that after this gets done. So what this is doing in the background is looking at all the possible local exploits that it can run on the system via Metasploit, and trying those. So there might be, there's going to be some things that are missed if it's not in Metasploit, basically. So now we're getting some results back. We see quite a bit here. So we got, looks like 4 different options. The first 2 kind of negate themselves. Bypassing UAC, that's usually when you're already an administrator, but that the user access control is blocking you from having full privileges, and so that's when you need to bypass UAC. We know that we're not administrator. We know that we're IIS app log, and so that's not going to work for us. So then that kind of leaves us with the other 2. We have the MS16075 reflection and reflection juicy. So we can look at these and see what that is. So we're just going to search MS16 underscore 075. That'll bring up the 2. We see that the juicy has a great rating compared to the normal. So we could use that one first. And let's see what we need out of that. So we'll show options. And doesn't really say anything here, but if you did info, that'll give you the background information of this. So it's going to utilize net NTLM version 2 reflection between DCOM and RPC to achieve system handle for elevation of privileges. It requires a CLS ID string, a class ID string. Windows 10 after version 1803, and all versions of Windows Server are not vulnerable. So this would not work on Windows 10 after 1803 and all versions of Windows Server 2019. We are targeting Windows 2012, so this should work. It looks like all we need to do is set a session. So we're going to do that. We're going to set a session of 2. And then we should be able to run this. And so what this exploit's doing in the background it was a combination of different, like rotten potato and things like that. It is using SMB, DCOM, and RPC to kind of self-reflect on itself to get a token. And what that means is that there were services on the Windows box that have administrative privileges, and what we're trying to do is get those to do a net lookup and reflect that credential back to the service and escalator privileges that way. And this was fixed, of course. So it said it finished. Let's see if we have a new sessions. It did not look like we escalated any privileges there. Let's double check, get a UID. Nope, we are still there. We could also try to run the post module in here and see if we get that. So let's use it is an exploit. So this is the only thing when with this is that if it doesn't work out right, then you're stuck without a privilege escalation. Interpreter. Let's see here. Oops. So you can background that. Make sure we had everything right. Oh, we did not have the L host right. That's the problem. L host ton 0. So before, all it had was just this section up here. It did not show the payload that it was doing, and that basically ended up, what happened is it executed that payload to call back the reverse shell, and then it did it to a different L host than the one that we were listening to. So we'll need to redo this. All right, there we go. So let's background that also. Let's look at our sessions. Again, it ended up executing an x86 interpreter. We do see that we are NT30 system now. Again, to maintain stabilization of things, we'd want to go ahead and upgrade that. So we could search type post arc, and then we want to use 20, and we're going to set session 3 now, and then we'll run that. And so now that should upgrade. That should have upgraded. Let's see what we need to do. Let's see if we can upgrade this. That doesn't work. What we can do is also rerun the exploit and do a different payload. All right. And so now we're matching. So let's see what the remaining tasks were and see if we can complete that. So the CVE version, is not listed here, is it? Yeah, it is. There it is. So there's the CVE version. if you need to get it off of there. We figured out who the app server is running as, and then we did get the OS version. Name of abnormal service running. So this was not covered in here, and so let's look at those. Let's upload WinPs and start going that route. So again, you're not done just because you got NT authority, and that's what I kind of liked about this room is that it's not just saying, okay, now that you have this access, you're done. You don't have to worry about anything else. All right, so let's go. Let's see where our WinPs is at. I think it's in opt, and then under tools, um, and then privilege. I should probably update this too. Let's do a git pull. So git pull basically pulls the latest version down from GitHub if you've never done that before. All right, and so if you've never seen WinPs or LinPs, these are privilege escalation scripts that help out identifying areas where there might be potential exploits or things like that. So if you just do WinPs GitHub, here's the tree here. The one you want to go to the main branch, which is the privilege escalation awesome suite. And so this has the linps and winps, and that will get you everything that you need there. And so you just basically clone that into whatever directory. All right, we want the winps bat or exe, sorry. All right, and that is in we're still diving down. So winps, and it should be in bin. And then it's going to be, because our architecture is x64, we want to stick with that and release. And then there's WinP. So you can see this is very far in there, and we want to make sure we know that directory. So we're just going to copy that whole thing there. And now we can go back to our Metasploit. We can upload this, and we can do winps.exe. Oh, I'm not in interpreter. That would help. So sessions-i, we're going to do it under our NT authority system. Again, this gives us the ability to kind of have all the privileges that we would want. So we'll upload, we'll put that there, and then winps.exe. So now we're uploading that. And we can now drop down to a shell. The shell that we drop down to should be that NT authority, and we can try who am I, and that should come back, see NT authority system. So if we now run winps.exe, we'll want to put this information somewhere, the output, so we can actually read this, because it's going to be a lot of data, right? So we can see if we have access to the temp directory. Which we do. And so then that's what we're going to do. We're going to put that output there. So we'll run winps.exe, and then you can still pipe that information to c:\. Windows temp, and then we'll want 1ps dot text. So I'm going to push enter, and we'll do another dir. And once 1ps gets done, basically we'll know that that is complete, and it should give us like the directory again. That'll be a good indication. Whenever you're doing these shells like this, that's something that you kind of want to know, is that you might be waiting on a command to finish, and you have no idea, right, what it's doing in the background, especially in this case where I'm writing that data to a file that's not, um, being seen at that same time. So by executing another command right after that, you kind of get that indication, okay, I'm done. That command was done. So now we have that information in the C directory. So if we cd, again, we're in a shell, so we can do that, cd temp, and then in Windows, they don't have cat, it's type, and it's type, let's dir first and then see what we got. There's the winps.text. We can put this out, but what's going to happen is it's going to be, again, a lot of data. Oh, I did color it. Awesome. So this is going to basically spit out everything possible on the system. Because we are NT authority, there's going to be a lot more red. You see that we're high integrity. It's also going to show off things like, what's detected by Watson, which is basically a smaller script of looking for exploits and things like that. We see Laps is not installed. So again, if on a real pen test on an internal system, system testing, if you see this is not installed or not enabled, that means that more likely the administrators are using the same password throughout the whole environment for the admin account, if they have not disabled it. LSAS protection is not enabled, credential guard is not enabled. So again, this means that you can read the LSAS memory and get out the passwords using Memicats. We see some computer information, pass, things like that, username, system. Some drivers and things like that. But what we're looking for, what the task is more asking us about, is the name of an abnormal service running. So we're trying to find services on the machine. And so there's user information, there's your tokens, home folders, password policies, process information. We're looking for services. There's modifiable services. Okay, so we're good in here. So now we can look at some of these services. Because we're NT authority, of course, everything's modifiable by us. So, but what we're looking for is a service that kind of stands out. And this comes with experience in looking at services that are normally on Windows boxes. And so if you've never seen services before, yeah, knowing which one's going to stand out is not, not the easiest to kind of pick out of that one. But we do see a Windows scheduler is the one that I ended up going with here. So we see right here, here's the Windows scheduler. There's your registry. Sorry to scroll too fast there. We can see potential DLL hijacking. Again, we're NT authority, so this is kind of different than if we were the other user, the lower user. All right, let's see what else we could Gleam out of here. Messages.exe. All right, so this is kind of more trying to dive into um, this box and what we have. All right, so let's exit this session. Let's actually RDP into the host. We did see that 3389 is available. The only thing that is that we don't know any credentials, right? But we're NT-authority. And so again, just because we're NT-authority doesn't mean that we have accomplished the mission. The task or the at hand could have been, find out the admin's credentials or find out the ability to find the insecure messaging thing that's running on the admin thing. So let's get in there. Let's get the memory and dump the credentials. So uh, let's background this. No, no, we can do. Actually, we can since we're already in Interpreter, we can load. Um, there's Mimikatz there. We can also load Kiwi. Apparently, is what it wants us to do. All right. And now that you loaded those in, so what load's doing in the background, if you didn't know, is it's taking these like DLLs and injecting the DLL into the interpreter process and giving you the extra functionality of these things in that process, basically. And so once you do that and you do the question mark, these are the extra functionalities that were added to this, and you can see Memicats commands and Kiwi commands. We'll try creds all first and just see if we can get everything and be done with this. And so we're already administrator, and what we're seeing here is that we have the NTLM hash, but it did not pull the password via the wdigest or Kerberos. So we want to kind of walk a little bit through and see if we can get any other methods before we just do, again, the cracking. Uh, Anytime that you can save yourself from brute forcing anything, you're saving your time and your efforts there. So we'll try Kerberos first. Okay, no passwords came out of that, so we'll go down. Nothing there. So now we're down wdigest. Okay, and then we'll try creds. And this is kind of similar. These are running the same type of commands. The additionals that we got was DC sync, golden ticket create. The golden ticket would be more for a domain controller, so that's not really going to help us, in this instance. We can do let's say, dump SAM. It's just going to dump the SAM. Yeah. All right, that's fine. So let's just change the password. Let's change the password of the user. So let's see what we need to do for this one. New password to set for the account. So we need to do a -P, capital P, and then a -U. So we're going to do -U administrator, and dash capital P, and we will do that's what I'm pretty sure I did. At least one known existence of the known existent or old hash. Do not use with P. Okay. So we need to do the dash N, and let's get that. Let's get the hash from up here. Way back up here. There it is. All right, cool. And now we should be able to RDP. So if we can clear this out, we can do our desktop. And we want the IP address of the host. And again, this is to answer these other questions here. All right, apparently it does not like that one, so we're going to do xfree desktop. Xfree RDP. We want to do a /u admin administrator /p : that was, and then v : IP address. All right, so now we're on the box. And so we were talking about services before. And when you log into this box, you'll notice this thing happening. And so this is a good indication of something running, basically. So when you click on the Start menu, you can type in service. You can view local services. This gives you the GUI version of everything going on, similar to what we were kind of seeing with WinPs before. Again, it's a lot of information. What I kind of look for, you can change this into running, so we can see what's running, have an understanding of that. And this is where you could look for your EDR solutions and stuff like that, antivirus stuff, where it might prevent you from executing further or things like that. Again, within scope, ask the client if it's okay to disable that, if you're even possible to disable it. So the one that we pointed out before was, I think it was called Scheduler. WinScheduler. Yeah, Windows Scheduler. Let's put it back alphabetical order and find this thing. So we got font, installer, process, time, auto config. Now the name on the service is not always the same as what it's supposed to be. We do see that this thing keeps executing. We could see that what this is, because this is probably it. Yeah, so system scheduler, we see that there's a scheduler.exe. If we go into this directory, Come on. So we see there's multiple files in here. And this one here, I just end up kind of playing around with, looking at like the log file, looking at what was going on, to figure out the answer. Again, this was kind of a weird one. Not one you would normally kind of run into on a regular pen test thing. So once you figure out that it's basically this exe running every couple minutes or whatever, you could also do a if you were to upload like procmon or one of the other sysinternal tools, task manager, you could kind of look at this too. We could wait for that task to kind of show up and see, there's the pop-up message. We see that this says the time has come, but it doesn't really give you as much detail. So that's where you kind of run into having those other tools like sysinternal tools to basically highlight that and understand what's running underneath here. But again, we're administrator, so we would be able to read the root flag. We would also be able to get the user flag from the desktop for the other one. Let's see what the privilege escalation is without Metasploit. So when I first did the room, this was not a task, and they added this task eventually. Okay, so we can create, yep, we did that. After generating, we pull into this box using PowerShell. We find that C Windows temps is world writable, okay. And then, so now you know how to pull files from your machine to the victim. We run WinPs, that's what we were showing earlier. Generate, we can see so what's the original install time that it's asking for? So if we go back to our WinPs output, which is not on any of these. So let's go back into C Windows temp. So what it was kind of saying there and alluding to is that the C Windows temp is world writable, and so if you're going to do this in the GUI, you could look at the properties, look at security, and then here's all the users basically, so it can see that users have special permissions, and so if you look at advanced and then users and look at those permissions, you have allow. You can also look at effective access and then select a user, and then you could do users. Click OK. And so now this kind of breaks down the permissions for you. You can create files, create folders. So that's what that's kind of breaking out and telling you that's what's going on with the C temp here. All right, so let's look at WinPs. It said it's looking for the install time. Again, WinPs has a lot of information, so let's just see if we can find install. There's the current time. Now the only thing with looking at it is because it does that coloring and that formatting. In Notepad it kind of messes that up, and that's the bigger issue. of trying to read this in Notepad. We could transfer it back to our local system and look at it in code or on the command line. But we're just trying to wrap this up here. So we might have to do that because this is somewhat unreadable. All right, so that's not finding that. Let's just pull that real quick. So we still have our Metasploit session available here, right? And if we do an ls, let's see where we're at. Hopefully it didn't die. Nope. All right, cool. Temp. Oh, we need to yeah, change directory Windows temp. Let's see. I think I can just do list local. Oh, all right, so pwd. All right, now we're there. So now we can ls. We'll see that our file's in the temp. Yep, and then we need to download winps.txt. We're going to go ahead and specify the directory we want it into, just to make sure that we can find this. So ctfs, Tryhackme, done, HackPark. Cool. All right, so that should have downloaded. It put it in the directory of tilde. That's awesome. All right, so there's our colorization again. We pulled the file from the server. All right, and we're looking for the install time. Right, that's what it's asking us. What was the original install time? This is date and time. All right, so that's the current time. All right, let's use Visual Studio Code so we can search for this easier. It doesn't color it. That's awesome. All right, fine. So again, this is the fun parts of things, is trying to figure out how do I get whatever I want out of this information that I have. So I'm going to grep for install. I'm going to do a -I for ignore case and see if I can find this. All right, so these are just the lines that had install on them. Which does not look like it's giving me any of that information. All right, we'll skip this one and move on. It is the last one, but it's a lot of data to parse through to figure out where the install time is. It should be, I would think, at the front. Yeah, like under system environment variables or all right, that's gonna wrap it up. We're gonna have to stop there. I'll leave that up to you to figure it out, but should be right in there somewhere. All right.